Let's keep focused on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lady K Chat podcast. You are here with your favorite host, Lady K, and you know one thing about me, I give my love, I share my truth, but again, I always want to talk to you with from the heart. So today we continue to talk about toxic moms. I know we've been talking about toxic moms and sons, but today we're going to talk about the moms and the daughters and the relationships because that is something that's so important. I feel like if we want to continue to break generational curses, we have to acknowledge some things that's going on in the family and just keep the family structure going. I have a pleasure today to have someone with me. I would like everyone, please give a warm welcome to my sister from the sistership, Miss Sherry Knight. Welcome, Sherry.
Good day.
Good day, yes, good day, Sherry. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Sherry, I'm so excited because, we have so much to unpack. It really is dear to me to speak to the moms out there, to speak to the daughters out there, because one thing, as I said earlier, we want to continue to move forward as the world is shifting. We want to continue to have good values, good family morals. And in order to do so, we have to break some curses. I see
Absolutely.
a lot of things going on in the forefront. And one thing that I want to start off first is that I understand a lot of moms, they may not have the manual, because we talked about this off air. They may not have the manual on how to be a parent, but I'm going to say one thing is I think how you speak life into your children is important. So how you speak life into your daughter is important because she's watching you. You are a mom, so she's looking for you for guidance. So one thing have I noticed, especially in our community, is that the language is disgusting, and what I mean by that, I hear mothers call their daughters, and this is just what it is. I'm not cursing. They call their daughters bitches and hoes, right? But they're saying, hey, I don't mean that in the derogatory way. That's just saying, hey, that's my bitch. And it's like, I don't think that's appropriate, for a mother to say, hey, you're my bitch, even though she doesn't mean it in that limelight because she's so used to that language, not realizing how that might affect her daughter later on. What's your thoughts on that, Sherry?
I don't agree with it. I mean, I agree to disagree with those parents that do it. To each his own.
Right.
But my children are not my friends, and I don't want my adult friends or people I call my associates. I don't want them calling me those names. I definitely wouldn't want to give those names to my daughters.
Right.
I have two daughters, and I realize that I am the example of what they see as a woman. I had to learn early on that as parents, we showed them how to become the ladies that they are. We showed them not only how to dress, how to carry themselves, how to speak to each other, but those kind of terms that they would so call in the hood call terms of endearment are not endeared. You could affect someone's self-esteem, their self-worth, and how they see themselves. If that's the way my mom sees me, I didn't want to be my children's friend while I was raising my girls or my son. I didn't want to raise them with the thought that they could speak to me any way they felt like it.
Right.
I can't tell them that I deserve respect and that they need to respect me. And yet when my so-called friends and associates come around, they calling me such things. No.
Right. Or
I don't.
how even about this, right? So you want your children to give respect to you, but how about you also give respect to your children, right?
Absolutely. I have heard for many years that, oh, you so quick to jump down to their level. What level are they on?
Right.
We teach them to become the adults that they become. The things that we say, the things that we do. The one thing that I have told my girls and my son, but I know he's focusing on women, but I want you to know, you could tell it to your sons too. Don't do me, do better than me. I didn't make all the wisest choices. I didn't have I'm not an authority on anything. I am a student of life on a continuous basis, but don't do as I did. Do better than what I did. And by the grace of God, they all are exceeding me in all areas right now.
I love that.
So it's a positive thing.
Right. I love how you said, they are better than me, in the areas, because they're, what you taught them to excel. So it's like they're excel at that level, and I think that's a great acknowledgement. Sometimes I'm going to say this, right? Some parents, some mothers specifically, they'll say, "Oh, I'm proud of my daughter," but deep down inside, sometimes they have the envy of their children. I want to talk a little bit about the envy of their daughters. I don't know if you know someone who ever experienced that, or maybe sometimes that person was not in awareness that they giving off that type of energy, that they're actually envy of their daughter. Have you ever acknowledged that before? Seen that
I've
before?
experienced it.
Okay.
It's not a great feeling because I was called out of my name. I was gossiped about, and I was truly shocked by some of the things that I heard that was being said about me. I love my mom, God rest her soul. But I think where those things come into play, it depends on how old you are and difference with your child, but also in maturity.
Right.
Because I'm older than my children. I have a decent age gap with my children, but am I still young enough? Yeah, absolutely. But I think my girls are absolutely gorgeous. They are valuable. They are priceless. They are assets to anyone's lives, whether it's work, home, parenting. And that's important to me. But when you have these jealous moms, they tend to kind of like knock you down so that they can still stand higher than you.
Right.
So as a parent, no matter what, you realize that when you're a parent and then you have that little baby, the baby becomes important to everyone around you, to the other adults. At one point, I was just Miss Sherry. That's so and so's mom, and that's how a lot of people see me. Oh, hi, Miss so and so. Hi, so and so's mom. That's just who you become.
Right.
Right. So, and then if you have a jealous mom and you happen to be beautiful and you believe she's beautiful, it depends on that insecurity that she may be holding. So the toxicity of it is dangerous because they start projecting their insecurities onto you. And as a child, you try to overcompensate because you want that parent's love, because you don't actually start feeling it. You
Right.
just, you kind of believe that you're just not good enough. Now, unfortunately, that's how they make you feel. You could have you got an A. You should have got an A+.
Right.
I don't like your hair like that. And you really looked in the mirror and thought your hair was really it. I don't like your hair like that. And then they allow or they do it themselves. They destroy your style. And then when you look in the mirror, you see old and ugly, or even young and ugly. You just
Right.
don't see the same worth that you felt at one point, because at some point it starts eating at you. It starts eating at you. But jealousy is just it's really hard, especially when you have these young moms. A couple of people I know had children at the age of 14 and 15. So when they're in their 30s, their children are teenagers. And now they're in their 50s, they're young adults.
Right.
So God forbid they did more than they did have. My mom is not here, but I do know that there was a point where she was jealous of me. And it was brought to my attention, not by her, but by her friends.
Let me ask you a question. Like you said, it was brought to your attention by other people. Was you picking up the pieces that your mom was jealous of you?
Honestly, no. I just didn't think she liked me because that was something that she said.
So she verbally communicated she didn't like you.
Right.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine what that did to your self-esteem as a young lady and maybe a young
It
girl.
still affects my self-esteem to this day. And
Wow.
I'm an adult with adult children.
Right. Right. Did you ever feel at one point you two had a lovey-dovey relationship, or was it always like that?
I felt like I challenged her choices. So what you don't realize is that you challenge a person's choices. So you don't realize that it's their choices. They make those choices all on their own, however.
Right.
But you come in because your choices are different than theirs. So now they're feeling challenged. Like, who do you think you are?
Right.
Like, who are you to make that decision? Like, what about you made a different decision than I made? You understand what I mean?
Right.
So once you challenge them, it's kind of like that statement I made. Who do you think you are? Not better than me. And once you get somebody feeling that way, whether they're your parent or not, in even a coworker relationship, you could make somebody feel like, who do you think you are?
Right.
And it's not because that was your intent, it's because you just made a different choice.
Absolutely. It's like who you are. And then sometimes when you step into your own authority and you own it and you feel comfortable in it, it irritates other people. So people like, well, like you just said, who does she think she is? I am who I am. I
Right.
love myself. Don't you love yourself? But I want to say there are some women out there who don't love themselves, because if you think back and they examine the choices that they made, it's like you didn't even love yourself. But sometimes I understand the unconscious mind is not aware that, dang, I made those type of choices. I was not in awareness. And it's okay, because like we said before earlier, there's no manual to life. And if you don't have the proper instructions, of course, sometimes you're going to go left. And sometimes even with the proper instructions, once you become a certain age, it's like now you get to make the decisions for yourself.
Right.
But we all know what's right and we know what's wrong. But sometimes experience is our best teacher. Would you agree?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Because common sense is not so common anymore. Right? So common sense says that we know better, but some people don't have common sense. So the question is, do they know better? So it's like the definition of insanity.
Yes.
Continuously doing the same thing, expecting different results. How do you expect something to be different if you're constantly doing the same thing, right?
Right.
So when it comes to who you are, that causes a problem for some people because you've made a different choice.
Right.
breaking generational curses is important, but a lot of us follow suit to what we see. We live by the example that was put before us.
Yes.
I'm divorced, and there was a point where someone said to me, you know, like, why aren't you dating? And my daughters are in different age ranges. They got gaps between there's 5 years between their ages. And the one thing I had to explain to them is I didn't want my girls to think it was okay for me to have multiple different men in my life.
Yes.
Um, and my experience says that because I was in a long-term relationship, you have men that are now getting out of those same relationships the same way I have, yet they haven't completely decided where they see themselves. So when I decided that I was going to take time and nurture and heal different parts of me, and I was going to learn more about me and know my self-worth, I made sure that I expressed that to my daughters, that it was important that I learn who I am.
Right. I love that. And Sherry, I can somewhat relate to you because I went through a divorce myself. And when I came out of that divorce, I did spend a few years by myself because I had to figure out, well, who am I now? Because I know sometimes when you come out of that transition, you're not married anymore. It's like you're trying to rediscover who you are. So it is great to spend time with yourself, to learn yourself, to understand yourself, because how are you going to date someone and when they ask you who are you and what you like and you can't even give them a response, it just tells a lot about you. So spending time with yourself, cultivating yourself a new you, I think that's important. But one thing, what I did when I was ready to date, I just dated. I didn't introduce no one to my children, and sometimes some women try to figure out, well, how can I do that? That's how you do it. You can go out there and enjoy yourself out there in life and date, but you don't got to bring them home,
Absolutely
So,
not.
because everybody doesn't get the chance and the ability to even deserve to meet your kids. But when you know what part where you want to be at, and when I say what part, like when you're ready to like maybe be in a long-term relationship, or when you're ready to maybe get remarried again, and you know that person has potential, of course, that's when you say, I can bring you around my kids, I can introduce you because I want to see if they like you, I think that's really
Absolutely.
important. But one thing that you were saying, as a woman is coming to her own and she's figuring herself out, I'm thinking about the word boundaries, right? Because this is when boundaries come into play. So once that woman develops who she is, and then even though her relationship with her mother may not be the best, let's talk about how can that person incorporate boundaries, so that mom can respect the daughter and then vice versa.
Well, usually you have to learn how to trust yourself again, right? So just the same way the person in your life may have broken your trust, you question the trust that you have. Like, how do I trust my decisions again? How do I do that? But that's how you have to learn about you, your
Right.
likes, your dislikes, what you are like I have had to say to some people that were interested in called the hookup, hooking me up with someone.
Right.
I don't require more in a relationship than I'm willing to put into it. Okay. I'm not expecting you to do more for me and me just to say that I'm a trophy on your arm. I have to learn how to trust my decisions. I have to trust that I've discerned the good and bad in you by getting to know you. But I can't say that I can do that without getting to know my likes and dislikes, my tolerance levels, right?
Right.
So when I seen others date, I see the things that they put up with. I know what I'm not putting up with. I'm not interested in the baby mama drama.
Yes.
Um, And the reason there's baby mama drama is because there's some kind of unfinished business. Because when you don't have baby mama drama or baby daddy drama when you actually have solved all the unfinished business. So like your business is closed. Like, there was a point where I had unfinished business with my ex, but I realized that in order to close those doors, it had to take me to stand in the doorway, hold the door, and push it closed. Because sometimes people have a tendency to try to hold on so that you don't cut them off completely.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to piggyback off of that. Sometimes it has nothing to do but just control.
Exactly.
Right. They just want to control. And when you put your foot down and you put your boundaries down, they don't like it.
Right. Because I'm a relationship kind of person. I'm not test driving motor vehicles. I'm not test driving a bike. I don't need to take different rides with different people to find out if that person is going to be a part of my life.
Absolutely.
The truth is, we know in a matter of time being around somebody, if we really would be interested in being with that person. I don't want to fall in love with your potentials.
Yes.
Your potential means absolutely nothing to me. When you have potential, the potential only really works out in your favor. So your potential to be a better you is you being better to you. So it doesn't come to me. And so my boundaries include a lot because my boundaries have nothing to do with my mom, right? I seen the boundaries that she had and some that she didn't have. So what I had to do was decide I was going to learn from him and not be angry about him. I just needed to know, I could break that curse by not doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So I have siblings and some of us have different fathers. Same mom, but did a different dad. And so I decided that I didn't want my children by multiples. Right? So I have my children by the same person. That was something that I was going to break because that was something that I learned growing up. Absolutely. That was something that I didn't want in my life. I also didn't want to drink because I saw what alcoholism did. And it does to people. It hinders, it helps people make decisions and make choices that they later regret. I didn't want to live like that. So those are boundaries I set.
And I think the boundaries. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that who you are as a child and who you become as an adult makes all the difference in your choices. And I realized I didn't want my choices to be like my mom's. As much as I loved her, she did best with what she thought was her choices.
Right.
I don't have to make the same choices.
Absolutely. And I can agree to that. I love my mom dearly too. And, she had multiple children by different men. And, I'm not knocking her, but I know when I had my oldest at a young age, I said the next time I have a child, it will be within marriage. And that's exactly what happened. I was able to have my youngest within my marriage because I felt like that was important to me. And even though, I'm no longer married, I still love, just to keep those values, those keepsakes, because that was important to me. But I have a question. I have a question for you, Sherry, because we're talking about boundaries, right? So remember in the beginning how I was talking about language and language is so important. So I know of a situation of a mother and a daughter where the daughter, she is at a place where she evolved so much, right? And she doesn't like when her mom call her bees and hoes, right? She doesn't like that, even though the mother definition of it is just, I'm just playing and this, this is just, it's not, I'm literally calling you that. But the daughter expressed to the mother, I don't like those words. Those words are derogatory to me. Please stop referring to me as that. But the mother doesn't respect her boundaries. She keeps going on. How can a daughter, still keep that balance with her mother or endure that relationship with her mother, and the mother's not respecting her boundaries?
Well, sometimes people don't realize that although they're your parents, you can love them from a distance. Okay, that's number one. Family relationships can be the most toxic because it's those that are closest to us that we hurt the most. Okay, so if that's the way she talks to her friends, then she's possibly looking at her daughter as her friend. Is it okay? Absolutely not. My daughters are beautiful, so I let them know that they're beautiful. My daughters are queens. I let them know that they're queens. I don't want you disrespecting me. I taught my children to put Miss or Mr. in front of the person's name because people that, like I said, I'm not so old, much older than my children. But when my children see somebody, they would say, "Hey, Miss Kalima, how you doing?" And the reason they would say that is out of respect, right? So the one thing I raised my children was we teach people how to respect us. If you don't respect yourself, if you don't respect your home, you don't get those. And other people don't come in and respect your home. They won't respect you. You don't respect your mom, they're not going to respect your mom. So your mom has to look at it. The mother, honestly, the mother's hurting and she's broken somewhere inside. Those are not terms of endearment. And especially if your daughter is telling you that she's uncomfortable, she's not a toy. She's a young adult and she's asking you not to call her out of her name. And you're constantly doing saying, but I'm just playing. Well, your daughter's telling you she's not interested in playing. If you don't do that to other people, you have to remember you shouldn't do it to your daughter because the Bible tells us do unto others as we would have them do unto us.
Absolutely.
So don't ask me to respect you more than you respect me. She taught her daughter. We teach our daughters how to feel. We match energy, right? We humans. As humans, we match the energy that we give. So if I'm constantly giving you negative energy, that's all you're going to actually get back from me.
Right.
And at some point, I'm going to get to the place where dealing with you is not something I'm going to do. I'm going to do it from a distance. The Bible tells us to honor our mothers and our fathers, for that gives us union with the Lord, that our life may be long. I could love you and honor you from a distance.
Absolutely.
I can't honor the negativity, but I don't have to be around it either. We have to learn to protect our peace, even if we're getting peace from our parents. It's up to you how you do it. Now, the daughter, at this point, what the mom is working on is losing any and all respect that this young woman has for her.
Mm.
She has to be very conscious of that. There will come a time where the daughter will walk away and not turn around. She's got to be careful of that too.
Right.
If this is the life that she wants, she could go around her friends, mom's associates, and you want to say those are terms of endearment. So that's how you play with your girlfriends. Like me and my children are only at the age now that they are at the age where I'm a joke around with you.
Right.
They all live in their own places. They all have their own families. They're all working to take care of all of that on their own. So I have to treat them like the adults that they are. And thankfully, the adults that I raised them to be respected, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm going to piggyback off of this, right? I'm going to say this because sometimes this is what some parents do to their grown children, right? So, of course, we're all growing. We all have our different stages of where we're at. Some areas we're more mature than others. So sometimes when you have not manifest or you maybe not mastered a certain area, because your parent don't see that you're a grown person in that area, they teach you as a child. So I'm going to say this. So even though they may not have evolved in that area, it's still you parent. It still does not give you a right to speak to them as if they're a child, because that's what a lot of parents do. And I'm sorry, I have to announce this. In our community specifically, our mothers and sometimes our fathers, they have a hard time transitioning. And what I mean by transitioning as is, this person was a child and now they're an adult, but they're still treating you as a child. They have not transitioned to continue to speak to you as an adult, even though they're not happy with some of the decisions that you make.
But it's because of that they don't realize they were the hindrance in those areas of your life, right? We sometimes do a disservice to our children, constantly giving them and constantly overcompensating. And then we try to say, well, you're a child. Well, no, I'm an adult, but because you've given it to me, I'm going to keep taking it. That's the world. It's a give and take kind of place. But if you're gonna continuously, it's a friend of mine. I have a friend of mine, and she constantly her sons are in their 20s, and these young men, she's still doing their laundry and cooking dinner and cleaning up their rooms and the first thing I said to her is, you're going to make them no good for themselves to go out into the world. Well,
Right.
why do you say that? I said, listen, I don't mind if my son comes for a visit and he brings his laundry. I don't mind you using my washer and dryer. I don't even mind taking care of it, especially if I need to use the washer and dryer. But am I going to make that a habit? No, because they need to know how to take care of themselves. But then she gets mad when they come and they'll say, here, mom, I need my laundry washed. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to go take it to the laundry and pay somebody else to do it. But you did them a disservice. You got them to a point where doing their own laundry is a problem for them. And now you're upset about it. You didn't require them to pay you by the pound like the laundry does. And then you say, well, I could have used that money. No, because you was doing it for free until I started paying someone else.
Right.
So that's the boundaries. Those are boundaries as parents. You set the boundary here. And just because I decide that I don't want to jump over the boundary, now you're upset because I stayed in that place that you wanted me to stay in that area of my life. Right, wrong, and indifferent, we do a disservice to our children when we handicap them in certain areas.
And it's funny because I'm going to piggyback off of that because I have a story with my oldest. My oldest is 20. And, most of the time, he still lives with me. Most of the time I do a lot of the cooking, right? But one day I asked him to cook. So he was in the kitchen and I was in the living room and he was asking me, well, can you come here and do such and such? I said, no. I said, you got this, because you know what I have done over the years? I have taught him. And I know I have taught him well. So he kept coming to me, which was fine. He could ask me all the questions all he wants to, but I was not going to go in the kitchen with him and show him and do everything. No, you can go and you can maneuver and you can look in those cabinets and you can see where the spices are at and you're going to see everything. I'm not doing up this is what I'm saying to myself in my head. But what I'm trying to say is he did it. All I did was tell him what to do. I answered his questions, but I was not going to go in there and coddle him. Like, he is 20 years old. I would do him a disservice if I go in there and go find, oh, well, here's the rice. I'm not doing that. I just
Well,
was.
even if you found the rice, what ends up happening then, and which is usually why they call you in, is you just take over and do it because it's easier.
Exactly. And I know myself, and that's exactly what I do. And I said, I'm not doing that. Oh, and I'm happy you said something like that because, and all this is relevant because this is important because I'm pretty sure some mom somewhere is going through this too. So I remember one time my mom said, hey, Tony didn't wash the dishes right. So what you should do is go behind him and wash them. I said, so you want me to go behind my son and wash the dishes instead of taking him side by side and showing him, hey, there's still food on the dishes. I said, because I feel like I would do him a disservice if I just go behind him and I keep cleaning behind him. Because you know what's going to happen when you tell your children to do certain things and then you go behind them because you don't like what they do? What's going to happen is resentment. Resentment is going to happen, and I see it all the time. It's like I even experienced that myself. So I do not think it is a great idea to go behind them because I know a lot of moms they have this issue too. Well, they don't clean the way I clean, so I always go behind them. Well, if that's what you want to do to make you feel better, cool. But please don't complain about it because you're actually hurting yourself. And then if they're not doing it properly, then you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? Again, that's where accountability comes in.
Absolutely.
We have to take accountability for the way we raising our children, point blank and period.
Absolutely.
We have to take accountability for the examples that we lay out for them.
Right.
There's no other way to. We are our children's first teachers. We are the ones that decide how we're going to raise them and send them out into the world. And the one thing as parents that you should be looking to do is to make and create and help create prosperous, productive adults that are responsible, that take responsibility for their actions, for their choices. But that doesn't happen all the time. It all depends on who you are as a person. And a lot of times we don't know who we are and we don't realize how we damaging those and how we've taken what we've learned from our parents and did the same thing. So I see that my mom has done a disservice to my brothers because she was always there. And if they needed something, okay. And, we are raising our daughters and we are coddling our sons. We have to be very careful with that because then when you can't figure out why he's out there and he's not necessarily showing you respect, and he's using you. That's horrible. It's a horrible place to be because again, that's us teaching our children how to treat us, right?
Right. You're absolutely correct about that because I see that a lot. And then we don't realize what type of men we're producing. And I actually said this on my other show. Sometimes this is the birth of serial cheaters or men who don't take accountability of their action. And sometimes they are in awareness, but then unconsciously some of the stuff they don't realize what they're doing. Like you don't understand the big picture of it. And I'm trying to say you're just naturally doing what you're doing because this is what I've been doing. They've been enabling my behavior and I'm just gonna continue it, but that has to come to a factor where it has to stop. Because it can only be acceptable for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we want to produce good men so they can be.
Well, it comes from the first point comes respect.
Absolutely.
So this is where a lot of moms don't see. We teach our children how to respect us, but we also teach our children how to see us and those that are in our agenda. Right? So you have songs where the songs are so degrading, but some guys that are doing a degradation, they don't want you to treat their mom or their sister or their daughter in those manners, but they would treat somebody else's daughter, sister, or mom in that manner. And then you have these The goal is everybody wants to, Cardi B told her truth, and that's basically what she's selling is her truth.
Right.
But that shouldn't be your 12-year-old daughter's ideal of the life that she wants to follow. You need to teach your children not to be envious of someone else's life, because you don't know what it took or what it's taking to have the life that they have. If you listen to her story, she throws it out there. She puts all that out there as being a stripper so she can support herself and her sister. But it's her body parts that's selling. People are hearing her raps, but the videos are so flashy, nice word to say.
Right.
Her videos are so flashy that sometimes the words are not being heard. You understand what I'm saying? So we teach our daughters how to dress. We teach our daughters how much makeup they should wear. We teach our daughters how to speak to each other. We teach our daughters how to speak to us. We teach our daughters how to speak to the gentlemen in their lives. We teach them how to become the women that they become. We are their first example. We are to teach them about Aunt Flo when she's coming and visit them. We are to teach them how to make sure they properly clean themselves. We are to teach them how to dress in moderation, because you could be gorgeous and be covered.
Yeah. Ooh.
Say
that again. Say that again for the people in the back. I don't think they heard you.
No, you can absolutely be gorgeous.
Yeah, you can be gorgeous and fully clothed. Let me piggyback on you. Growing up as a child, I used to love watching the Cosby Show. I love Claire Huxtable. I just love how she stood on her ground. I thought she was so beautiful. That was beautiful to me. And not no diss, because you were talking about Cardi, no diss to that. I'm like, that is not appealing to me. That's not cute. I understand, like you said, she did what she had to do because she needed to flee domestic violence. I understand that, but Claire Huxtable, that was everything for me. I love that, but now everything is like, I gotta be naked, and I gotta show skin, and every time I put on my Instagram, my Facebook, I see these girls half naked. I'm like, can y'all put on some clothes? And then y'all talk about attracting the right men. Well, you're giving that type of energy. What do you expect?
Now, what we not gonna do? Let me be clear. What you wear should not cause so much toxicity in your life. Let's be clear. But you can't ask for quality and you're not giving quality. Okay, so to each his own. But what I meant by that, that's our example is we have men that are designing clothes where for a 5-year-old, they poom shorts.
Right.
Or they cut off mini skirts. 5-year-olds are already short. They're kids. We are styling our children's hair in these grown-up hairstyles. We are adding a little makeup and we're doing these grown-up dresses and no. You decide how long your daughter's gonna stay a child. Ponytails, barrettes.
Bobo.
Think about what they have. They don't even sell barrettes of quality like they used to. The Goody brand was the best barrettes you could get.
Yes.
Fruits, animals, flies, butterflies, or anything that you could name, they had it.
Right.
And little girls were little girls. You put on their little sweater over their little blouse with their rolled down socks with some bloomers under it over their panties, and you allowed them to be little girls.
Yeah.
Now, are you helping your daughter or are you hindering her? Because without her weave, her extension, you see these little girls getting relaxers. You see the little girls with extensions. You see little girls with pieces of hair
Yeah.
in their head. You see some of them wearing wigs. Now, those children that are suffering from alopecia or dealing with cancer or certain physical things that they have no control over, I understand you might want to put a cap, a wig, or whatever you want to put on their head.
Right.
But let them be beautiful. Let them know that they were beautifully the way God created them. We are not feeling beautiful, and we are not raising our daughters to feel beautiful either. When we are over masking them and we are underdressing them and we are disrespecting them with our words, we are teaching them how to become the women that are going into the world that are our future. We are teaching them how to be bitter Bettys when we are bitter because we made bad choices. We are teaching them not to stand up and respect themselves. We are teaching them to tolerate. We are teaching them that a piece of a man is better than no man. We are teaching them that they don't. You hear these women that say they don't need a man. It, like, I just don't get it. I've not ever gotten that. The one gift that I had was the opportunity at one point to be a housewife. I loved nurturing my family. I loved taking care of my family. My job was in the home. My job was to be sure that certain things were taken care of. Did I learn how to do other things? Was there a masculine and feminine role? No. But I wanted the laundry washed a certain way with certain detergent. I washed it in that certain detergent in that way. I wanted folded a certain way. I wanted to put it in the drawers a certain way. I took care of those things. Right? Did I learn how to change oil? Yep. Change tires? Absolutely. Change electrical sockets? Absolutely. Things that you figure are just a male, that's the male thing to do. No. I learned how to do things because they needed to be done.
Right.
And that's what I teach my girls. When my girls need help, I do the best that I can by helping them. When my son needs help, I do the best that I can by helping him. When my ex-husband decided he didn't want to do family anymore, I still taught my kids that family was important. I don't have to badmouth him. I don't agree with his decisions, but I needed my kids to see him for who he is and to see me for who I am. And at one point, my daughters had told me, "Mom, they realized that you weren't happy for a long time, but as a child, how do you learn to tell your parent that?"
Right.
You tell them because they need to hear it. I see your unhappiness. I see your hurt. Maybe you should get some kind of help, or maybe we should get some kind of help. Um, it's up to us.
Right.
I know that when I was going through the separation and divorce, I knew as an adult I didn't know how to handle it, and I didn't expect my kids to know how to handle it better than I did. I sought therapy, and I made sure that my children that were of age to go into therapy got therapy. And to this day, I will tell anyone, seek a therapist. You need therapy. Mental health is so important. Healing is so important. Learning to trust you again is so important because we end up projecting it onto our children. The insecurities we push off to them. We don't realize that they match our energy. They see us unhappy. At 2 years old, they hold the same energy and they're unhappy. It's up to us. We have to teach our children to become the adults that they eventually become. And parents have to know their limitations and their boundaries. Because that same mom that is calling your friend out of her name, that's calling her daughter let me correct it. Your friend that is calling her daughter out of her name would be highly upset if her daughter came to her and said, "Ma, can you believe so and so is calling me out of my name and calling me this and calling me the same things that she is calling her?" The mom would be ready to fight.
Right.
You don't deserve that disrespect. Then why are you giving it to me? You're teaching people how to treat me.
Oh, you done preached to the choir, Sherry. You done said a mouthful. We are running out of time, but I just want to thank you for everything that you have said, Sherry, because you hit it on the head. Everything that you brought about, this is what people are going through it, on a daily basis, with their parents. But I want to say this before we leave, because we was talking about, speaking life and what you say does matter. And I see a lot of moms, right? There are some moms that are actually proud of their daughters and what they have accomplished, but they don't tell them enough. Like they'll go ahead and tell other people, I'm so proud of my daughter. Like I even eavesdropped one day, my mom telling someone that she was proud of me. I was like, oh, she is? And I was so excited because I realized I didn't hear it enough. And I know she loves me, but I think we just got to get in the habit of expressing ourselves in different ways to our children because it does matter. And sometimes when you see us in that positive limelight, we need to hear that. It makes us feel good.
Absolutely.
It makes anyone feel good when you hear someone that you love and love you speak highly of you. So I want to encourage some moms today. And you mentioned therapy. I want to encourage some moms today and daughters. Why don't y'all seek therapy separately and then do something together? Because I also think that can also help, bridge the gap on what was lost and just try to make the foundation a lot stronger. So those are my closing remarks. Again, Sherry, I thank you. If the people wanted to follow you, Sherry, how can they follow you?
I'm not on a whole lot of social media. I pretty much peek into Facebook. My name is Sherry Knight. You could find me there. I actually have a picture of myself on there. I'm also on the Sistership radio talk show. They could find me on there. My name on there is Lady Wisdom. Or ask Kalima.
Yes, Lady K Wood told you, yes, you can find Sherry both and I at the Sistership every Sunday at 2 p.m. on Genesis Radio. And I thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope this was helpful. I hope this can bridge and mend some daughters and mothers relationship. I say seek therapy with you first. It starts with you first. You have to want to change. It doesn't matter how old you are, because I'm tired of people saying, well, I'm this age. It doesn't matter. It only matters is when you're ready for change, when you're ready for involvement, and then you want your circumstances to look different. So everyone continue to follow us here at the Lady K Chat Podcast every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We are here on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. So we will see you next week here again at 6 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Lady K.